Okay. All right. Welcome to the Spring Shavedowns webinar. Today's April 26th. It's Saturday evening. I'm so glad you guys decided to join me on Saturday night. All of us groomers hanging out. And yes, okay, so let me get my presentation all set up. Okay. So Spring Shavedowns, we're pretty much all groomers this time of year are dealing with the same kind of things. We're dealing with those very matted, very pelted, once a year, sometimes once every few years grooms. And it just comes with a myriad of problems. So this webinar, we're going to talk about kind of the different things, what causes them, what we can do as groomers to be prepared, make sure everything, all of our setup is good. I'll go over some grooming tips, and then we'll also talk about getting those owners switched over from once a year to actually understanding why they need to come in frequently, and then how to push rebooks and how to push getting them back in the salon before their animal gets back into this condition. So my name is Lynn Paolillo. I'm one of the instructors at NCGIA, and that's me in Petunia. I teach the breeds and colors and the temperament and handling lectures at school. I'm also going to be taking over the health and anatomy lecture starting in May. So very exciting. And I also do I'm the head instructor for the hands-on grooming portion of school session 2. Olivia was going to be joining me tonight, but unfortunately she had to work at her other job, so it'll just be me. But she is going to join me for the Senior Cats webinar next month that I'm really excited about. Okay, so we're going to talk about some matting issues. Oh, look at those gross pictures. Yuck. So clumpy, greasy, matted, gross kitties is what we're going to talk about today. Awesome. I hope you all already ate dinner, and we're not going to be talking about anything gross while you're trying to eat here. So for those of you who groom cats and dogs, dog matting is going to be very different from cat matting. And I know a lot of you, I'm kind of recognizing a lot of names have already come to the school, already come through our program. But for those of you who haven't, we're going to kind of go back a little bit to basics. So there is, just as in dog matting, some matting can be removed without having to shave it. And it really takes a little bit of time to really recognize your own dematting skills, but a lot of it is going to be dependent on how the cat reacts to grooming, how the cat reacts to shaving, how the cat reacts to the blow dryer. We have to see how they're going to react to all these things to determine whether or not shaving or combing the mats out is going to be the better option. Now, obviously, if they're pelted one piece all over, pretty much that's only, we only have one option, and that is just going to be to shave everything off. So cat matting is caused by excessive amounts of dead coat that instead of shedding completely out, they're stuck. They're stuck together from the greasy oiliness of the skin, and they just kind of keep sticking together, kind of compounding, so it's more like a dense Brillo pad than it is just tangles. So those type of things come off in one piece. Yeah, so that's kind of going to be a little bit the different, and obviously our dematting techniques, if we're going to be combing them out, is different in cats than it is in dogs, because I don't want to be just dry brushing mats out of a cat, because that is one way to really just make those cats really angry, and we don't want to piss off kitties, when we're just starting. We want to try to get as much done as we can with the cat, calm and stress-free. So it depends on, are we going to shave everything off as much as we can, or are we trying to bathe them, and then when we dry them, we're going to try to get those little mats out. So we take into consideration their tolerance, their temperament, but we also have to look at their skin condition. Do they have really thin skin? Are they really old? Because those type of, we really have to weigh the pros and cons of what are the risks of nicking that type of skin, but at the same time, I don't want to be yanking on an older cat's skin and having to move the legs around for dematting either. So I have to kind of see what the cat will tolerate And sometimes that may mean breaking the groom up into multiple visits to keep the cat calm and stress-free, because we obviously don't want them to get too stressed out. So, what's the big deal with mats? Well, it's a really big deal to have all these mats on cats, and I've got some really kind of gross pictures. But these are cats that have come into our salon, and the top one is that's after we remove the majority of the mats, and that's an older cat. And all these dense mats, it really pulls the skin. It can cause bruising. It can even cause almost like a marbling effect where it's scarring on the skin. And the hair is pulling so badly, it can even cause bald spots and skin irritations. And it hides things like wounds, fleas, all types of nasty stuff underneath. Especially if they're going outside, you never know what is kind of happening. And that bottom picture is actually what can happen when an owner tries to cut mats out themselves. And so we really don't want them to do that either, because the matting is really hiding the skin. So as a professional, we need to deter these owners from trying to take measures into their own hand, because you can't just lift up a mat and start snipping away with shears. Whew, ooh, that just gives me the willies just thinking about it. But I have seen severe matting that limits a cat's movement. I've seen legs matted together. I've seen cats that were having difficulty eating and breathing and even swallowing because they had mats ear to ear, like all underneath their throat. And I've even seen mats that are covering the rear end. So once I shave the mats off, they just start pooping all over the place because they weren't even able to poop. So it's very important to talk to these owners about why we need to prevent these type of mats and why we need to, as groomers, make sure we relieve them of all these problems. And then if they only get groomed once a year, once every few years, or they haven't been groomed their whole lives and now they're horribly pelted, we have to think about stress as an additional problem. Um, stress can literally kill a cat. So we need to make sure that we are going to be doing what is best for the cat to make sure we're getting the pelt off, the problems solved and prevented, but also the cat needs to stay healthy and stress-free as possible. So the first kind of step, oh, and here's some other gross stuff. Oh, these are lovely. So the one on the left is underneath pelts. So that's that really pulling of the skin. And so those are all just bright, hot pink bald spots that after we shaved it off, that's what's left. The one on the two on the right hand side are from owners cutting. I think the one on the left, I believe, is from Alice Hescox. Um, and then the one on the right is a close up of the one we just had that come in like within the past 2 months, I would say. Even the owner was like at check in, she said something along oh, we tried to cut it out and I think we nicked him. Oh, lovely. Yes, yes, you did. It was a big V shaped nick from the scissors. Not so good. This is just kind of break up all those gross pictures. Hi, Petunia. So we can kind of shake off the gross pictures now. So the first step is going to be preparation. We need to be totally prepared before the cat even enters the salon. And the first step is going to be the client. We're going to get as much information from the client as possible. And it's during the client interview. And that starts with the phone call. I want to ask questions about, do they have any clumping or tangles that you know of? Most groomers don't understand what matting and pelting is. And if it's the first time they're in the salon, I almost have to play like detective to figure out, is this cat matted? When was the last time it was groomed? How often do you get it groomed? When the last time you were groomed, where did you get it groomed? Because sometimes I'll ask, was it at a veterinary hospital? Did it have to be knocked out? I want to get as much information as possible about this animal. Does it go outside? Do you do any type of combing at home? Anything like that. I want to get all this information before they even walk in the door so I can try to book myself as much time as possible. I usually do most of the scheduling during our salon days because I answer the phones at our office. And for new clients, because it's that time of year where all the super matted, pelted, aggressive cats are coming out of the woodwork, I really try to spread out these new cats that I think may have some matting on them so that we're not getting 6 pelted cats in on one day. I try to intersperse them, over the next, over each groom day, I'll have one, maybe two. And that way, if we do have a cat that comes in that's horribly pelted that needs 2 people, we're still okay because I have regular clients filling the rest of the spots. So we kind of spread it out a little bit. So the next step of the client interview is when they come into the salon and I can actually get my hands on the cat for the physical assessment. Now, I have a webinar for members and it's called Check-in Procedures and Assessments, I think. And I go really in depth with checking the clients in, getting all the information and the physical assessment. So all the members, you can go back to the webinar library, and I believe I did it last year and end of last year, and it's called Check-in Procedures and Assessments. So you can see more information about getting as much information out of the client as possible. So the next thing I want to make sure I have, and this is kind of in general, you always want to make sure you have clean and sharpened equipment when you're grooming, but this time of year, I would say the springtime and then around like Christmas holiday season, I want to be prepared a month or two in advance by sending off my equipment to be sharpened, getting a couple extra blades. I want to make sure all of my equipment is good to go so I don't have clippers that die in the middle of a groom, or I, drop a blade and oops, that was my last 10 blade and now I've got nothing. So I want to make sure all of my stuff is cleaned and sharpened even before they get in the door. I also want to have the backups, extra clippers and extra blades, even an extra nail trimmer and extra comb, because you never know, cats love to kick stuff off the table and then it's broken. And if I only have one of everything, sometimes I can be SOL. I always want to keep all of the tools that I will need within arm's reach. Everything needs to be close by. If it's not close by and I've got an angry cat on the table, I can't just walk away from this cat, and hope they don't jump off the table. So I want to have towels. I've got my air muzzle, my nail trimmers, combs, everything is within arm's reach. Of my station. That's why at the school we use these little grooming caddies that go on the end of our table, because that way we can keep all of our tools in one place. So I'm not trying to hunt around the room, but I also don't want to keep all of my equipment on the table. I want it within arm's reach, but I don't want my cat to be able to kick anything off and break all of my expensive equipment. Another thing I think is important to have is a camera. You want to have a camera close by. And when you have a cat that comes in the type of conditions that, are very matted, pelted, always take pictures. Take before pictures, take during pictures, and take an after picture. And if you find anything, take a picture. Okay, a picture is worth a thousand words. And it's not only, so that you can show, clients in the future, grooms that you have, it's also to keep a record, to protect yourself. And if you feel like you need an assistant, obviously you want to have an assistant all lined up. Depending on your business and how you're set up, if you feel that a cat is coming in and you think they may be aggressive and pelted, it might not be a bad idea to almost have like a meet and greet type of appointment. Pick the end of a day, have them come in so you can see their condition, kind of maybe feel the cat a little bit, see how they start reacting to a nail trim. And then you can say, okay, now I have a better idea of what's going on with this cat, and I'm going to be able to book you a full amount of time on a different appointment day. And I probably wouldn't even charge for that meet and greet appointment, just so I can get a good idea. Do I need an assistant? How much time do I need? Because you don't want to be having this cat come in and you've got 5 other animals to do that day, but this cat is going to take you all day, or it's going to take you a good portion of the day. So sometimes just kind of having the preparation is worth it in the end and is worth all the headache. And I would rather be overly prepared than be totally screwed if something doesn't go perfectly. So something to think about also is protect yourself. Okay, it's not just about, not being bit, not being scratched, but as a business person or as an employee of someone's business, we have to think about our own protection as well as protection for the cat and for the owner. This starts with a discussion with the owner. What can be under those mats? What can possibly go wrong? I would rather give them kind of all the information and all the risks involved and then have the groom go perfectly, as opposed to not saying anything and then, God forbid, something happens. I have to stop in the middle of the groom, or I find fleas, or I find a big open gash underneath that something happened. All those things I want to make the owner aware of ahead of time. You also want to have them sign something like a release of liability waiver. Those are important to have pretty much for any pet. You want to have all your policies lined out. Everything needs to be in writing because, if something happens and you discover, a nick underneath the cat, or you find, a big wound or big skin irritations, and the owner brings the cat to the vet and now they've got all these vet bills and they're trying to sock you with them. No, 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 no. That's when you have your release of liability waiver and you said, don't you remember, Mrs. Smith, about the conversation that I had that all of these things could be found underneath this mat? And that's why you also want to take pictures, lots and lots of pictures. Because if the vet, if you have a release of liability form and you've got pictures, the vet is going to be like, oh, there's no way this was your fault. And so that is to protect yourself also. I also call the owner right away if I find anything. If I find fleas, I stop what I'm doing, or and before I get to the bath part, I usually call the owner and I say, look, I found fleas. It's an additional $10, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to wait until the owner is picking up to be, surprise, I found X, Y, and Z. I found fleas and it's an extra $10. I found, a nick on the elbow, or I found, bald spots or whatever. They will appreciate it 10 times more if you call them and let them know before they come to pick up. Because I have had owners who, when they pick up, they look at me like they're leery because it looks like I did something and then I'm just trying to sweep it under the rug and just kind of pass by when they're picking up, or I'm just trying to charge them extra and I didn't go over it at drop off. If I find anything that changes our initial discussion, I always call them and they always appreciate it. It's a quick couple-minute conversation. I always stay upbeat. I never say, oh, well, I did find this. I say, oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. I'm just giving you a call to let you know that I did find fleas on Fluffy. This way, you'll have some time to start cleaning up your house and getting the products that you need while Fluffy is finished getting groomed with me. Do you have any questions, or I can go over it when you pick up? And they always appreciate it. And then it's always kind of a last minute, and I remember when you checked in, I said it would be an additional $10 and I'm going to have to do a $10 flea bath. Okay, so your total will be blah, blah, blah. When you pick up, see you at 1:30 or whatever. And so I always call them ahead of time and owners always appreciate it. And if there is a problem, like, no, I don't want you to do a flea bath. All right, well, I'm going to stop right now then because I can't continue the groom, but it will still be full price and you can come and pick Fluffy up. Okay, that way I haven't done all this work if they're just going to argue with me about price. I also want to make sure that all of my equipment, tools, and surfaces are all cleaned and disinfected. These once a year cats, you never know what they're getting into, what kind of gross stuff that they are exposed to if they're going outside. They may have ringworm underneath all that grossness. So I want to make sure I've got all my cleaning products. I've got everything real close, and as soon as I'm finished shaving all that stuff off, I just scoop it right into a garbage can, spray down all my stuff, spray down all my surfaces, and that way I'm not exposing any other animal and my equipment is going to stay nice and clean. Okay? Always clean and disinfect your equipment. Always, always, always. And it's especially important with these infrequent visitors. Now, if you do get scratched or if you do get bit, same kind of thing. These guys, I don't know as much about these animals as I do about my regular 4 and 6 week clients. So any scratch, I always scrub it clean. I always keep an eye on it. And if I get bit by any of these cats, I always get it checked out. If I get a little kind of nibble from a cat who comes in every 6 weeks and I, have been doing that cat for like 3 years, maybe I'll kind of soak it, and then only if it's, if do I think it's going to get infected while I go to the doctor, but not with these guys. With these once a year, nope, I'll go right to the doctor. I would rather be overly cautious than have something bad happen. Okay, that's just me. I want to be overly cautious and protective. Okay, so now we've talked for like 20 minutes about what to do before we even get our hands on the cat. So now we're going to talk about the actual grooming. So the order of grooming is fairly similar to doing a standard line cut. The thing is, I have to kind of be very aware of the tautness of the skin, how flat the skin is. I also need to be very observant about how the cat is reacting. I keep an eye on their stress level. I keep an eye on their face, any changes. So the step-by-step grooming, I'm going to start with the nail trim. Start kind of feeling them out, see how they start reacting to being handled, being touched. And I also can get kind of those weapons of mass destruction trimmed down. So if they do decide to kind of swipe, I don't get this huge rip down my arm. When I start shaving, because at this point, usually with a line cut, if I've never done shaving on a cat, I'll start with their sanitary trim. But with a pelted cat, I just need to get this thing off. So I'm going to start at the base of the tail, and I'm going to kind of find an opening with my clippers. And we're going to, because the base of the tail is nice and flat. And that way I've got a real kind of my risk of nicking is very small. And I'm going to go in reverse. So I'm going to go from the base of the tail towards the head. And I want to do as much as I can with the cat in its comfort position. So I'm going to do up the back. I'm going to go down the sides. I can even kind of gently roll the cat over a little bit to do the outside of the rear legs. I can move the skin, from the belly towards the back to try and get as much of the belly skin as possible. These cats have very flexible skin, so you just kind of want to move the skin around to get to a flat area. Like you can even get the skin in the armpit to a flat area by just kind of rolling it around the outside of the arm. That way it's nice and flat, and that way your clippers won't have as high a chance of nicking like a little skin flap. So as much as I can. And then once I've gotten kind of the outside is when I usually put the cat on my lap, or I just lift up a back leg to try to do the sani kind of belly chest area. And I do those areas without extending legs first. To try and, because usually the cats are all matted right on the belly and right in the chest area. So I want to get those kind of flat areas out of the way. And the last areas that I do are going to be the legs, because especially the armpits and the inner back legs, those have those little skin flaps. So I need to make sure that I can see as much as possible before I just start shaving. I don't want to just kind of lift up a leg and just go whoop if I can't see what I'm doing, because with the mats can sometimes pull the skin and create little skin flaps. And other times, I can't see the skin at all, and I have to kind of go in smaller areas. So that's why I try to get the big flat areas done, and then I can work my way into the more sensitive areas. So after I've kind of gotten the big chunk of matting off, then I'm going to go and bathe and get all that, all that greasy, all that clumpiness. I'm going to go and bathe all that out. Then I need to get them dry. Now, a lot of these cats are stressed out. They're shy. They may be a little bit aggressive. Now is a good time to give them a bit of a break. I usually like to kind of wrap them in a towel, let them kind of snuggle a little bit, change the towel that they're in, and then I can put them, obviously if they're wearing a muzzle at that time, I try to take it off, kind of give them a little bit of a break. I can even put them in the cage dryer for a little while. That way they're just under a fan and they can take a break while I go and clean all my equipment, clean the tub, clean my tools, clean up the area, blah, blah, blah. And so after about like 15, 20 minutes, I always keep an eye on them. I'll go back and I can see the reaction to the high velocity dryer, because most of these cats are going to be matted in the legs. And I don't want to be shaving down the legs unless I absolutely cannot avoid it. And one of my favorite things to do to get matting down the legs and feet is I will take the condenser cone that goes on the high velocity dryers, because usually I don't use that on cats. I just, I use the dryer without the condenser cone. And so I'll put the cat, because I got my Caddyshack back, and I'll turn the vac on, turn the dryer on, let them acclimate to the sound. Then I will get the condenser cone and I'll just take a little bit and go lightly over each leg with the condenser cone. And what that does is that helps to really push those little tiny clumpy mats as far away from the skin as possible. And then I'll take the cone off, I'll go back in and I'll finish drying, and then I can demat those areas without too much discomfort to the cat, because the mats are already very far away from the skin. And then it's just a little blink, 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 flick, flick, flick to get all those little clumpies out. Because I don't want to have to shave down the legs, because that's just entering kind of danger zones. So after I've gotten them completely dry, the rest of the areas that are not going to be shaved are dematted. Then I bring them back out to the grooming area and I do all my finish shaving. Then I do the final comb out and they're good to go. So that's kind of basically the steps that I follow on pretty much every matted cat that I'll do. Now there are some, oh, here we got some pictures. So the two on the top are some of my favorites, because this is a short-haired cat and this cat is still matted. So it's not just these long kind of fluffy cats that can get matted. Cat matting with all that clumpiness can be short or long hair. So that's why it's important to really make sure that all cats are degreased, they don't have any excess coat, um, and a lot of it is just educating the owners. Okay, so we want to make sure all the finish work is nice and smooth, um, and even and pretty, but obviously we're not going to sacrifice the cat's stress level and safety for a perfect haircut. Usually at this time they're feeling pretty good because they're clean, they don't have any of that gross stuff on, the skin's not pulling, and it's kind of like this new sensation, like, wow, this is awesome, I can feel stuff. Oh, here we got some more. This is a cat from I think I had pictures from the beginning. This is kind of during and after. We also did a face trim on that little guy, and I think the owner asked for his ruff to be kind of short, so normally we don't make the ruff as sculpted. But you can see on the bottom left picture that we don't go that far down the front legs. We kind of stop at the bend in the arm. Once we start getting lower than that, it starts getting the skin is very thin. There's no really kind of bulk um, of like flesh behind it, and it's very bony. And there's also all the tendons and ligaments and things, and it's just so much easier to nick. Also, cats have sensory whiskers on the backs, on the kind of inner back of their legs that you don't want to be chopping off either. Okay, so a couple other tips that I think are important for shaving off these big mats is we always use a number 10 in reverse. Me personally, out of all of these pelts, I have never had to use any other blade other than a 10. I've never had to use a 30 blade, never had to use a 40 blade, 15, nothing. I've always been able to get everything off with a 10 blade in reverse. And I think the key is keeping the skin flat and taut. I use my hands and my fingers to extend smaller areas, and I kind of will pull the skin kind of towards me, so I'm shaving away from myself, and that way it kind of keeps it nice and flat. I also want to angle the clipper slightly downward, kind of towards the skin, because I need to get underneath the mat. So then I'm going in a scooping motion. I'm not trying to cut into the mat, I'm trying to scoop underneath it. So that way I'm kind of angling my clipper down, and it's going to make little scoop kind of motions. And I want to go slow, and especially these big pelts, I need to go slow in that I don't want to rush and I don't want to risk nicking, but at the same time I have to keep an eye on my time management. So there has to be a balance somewhere in the middle of making sure you're moving at a good pace so that you're not, stressing out the cat, but you also want to make sure that you're minimizing any chance of nicking. And I wonder if, oh, okay. Another important thing is to watch for signs of stress. Okay, we want to watch for any changes in breathing, any changes in eye dilation. If they're repeatedly using, going to the bathroom, pooping and peeing. I mean, if they poop or pee like once, okay, that's usually pretty common. Most cats go to the bathroom during grooming. We're kind of stimulating, kind of the genital areas down there, or maybe they haven't used the litter box that morning. But if they start going multiple times, that can be a sign of stress. So you have to know when to stop. If you are uncomfortable or if you think the cat is getting too worked up, take a break. And sometimes that means giving them a 15, 20-minute break. Other times that means having to come back and doing multiple visits. We've had a couple cats that we're able to shave the pelt off, the majority of the pelt, we get it off. And then we decide that the cat is we are uncomfortable with how it's going, and we don't want to stress the cat out, so we say, okay, bring the cat back. We'll make another appointment for the following week or the next couple of days, and the cat will come back and we'll do the bath, blow dry, and finish work in the second appointment. Now, we always charge the full amount at the first appointment because we want to encourage them to come back. Because if I do the majority of the work and I say, okay, come back next week and I'll charge you then, I mean, there's going to be a number of people who just don't show back up. And obviously, you did all that work and you deserve to get paid. It also is making sure that they come back so you can finish the groom, because it's very important to bathe and dry the legs, the head, the rest of the tail, so that those areas aren't matted. Okay? Because mats just don't go away. They don't just rub off like the wild labradoodles. I think that was in like a chat forum one time. Someone thought wild labradoodles just rubbed their mats off on rocks or something crazy. So we have to make sure that we take care of them, and part of it is shaving all of it off or having to demat the legs and things. Here is a cat that we had earlier this year. This was one big pelt. You can actually see in that picture on the left, like his head, like it was still attached to him. I came upstairs while Olivia was grooming. What a sweet cat. Very sweet and very appreciative. Now, this cat was perfectly fine being done with one person. If you need a second set of hands, to make sure that it's that time management. Sometimes having that second person is kind of good for the cat because they can distract them, and other times it's good for you because it's kind of moving the cat around so that you can kind of get it done as quickly as possible. Sometimes you need a little bit of additional handling so that you can, it's really all about time management. Yes, if you do it by yourself, it may be okay, but if it takes 3 hours just to shave the pelt off, that's not going to be good for the cat either. I don't know any cat that could sit there for 3 hours, with you kind of rolling it around trying to shave it off. I'd rather have it shaved off in, 20 to 40 minutes max. And sometimes if just having a second person just means you can just kind of zip it off without, the risks of nicking, I'd rather it be done that way. And I even think I have a video of this cat. I'm hoping it'll play. Oh, hopefully it'll play. I don't think it's got sound, but you can see I came upstairs and she was almost finished, and I'll play a little bit of it because it's about 5 minutes long. I did post it in the NCGIA survival group. It's also, I think it's on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. He was actually purring during a good bit of the groom. So you can see she's, moving quickly, but she's kind of it's a scooping motion because she's trying to get the mat out. And you can see this is me holding, this is the pelt that came off, and she's up by his cheeks. It was matted all the way up close to his ear. So she's going in small, just little small movements, and see how we just can kind of get it off in small pieces. He was such a good little kitty. I guess there is sound. You can hear me talking. So just going in different directions and, making smaller kind of scooping motions is really what's going to get those mats off. I'm going to speed it up because I think at the very end is when she actually gets it off. Oh, see, we almost got it. Oh, and there, yep, perfect timing. So that is the big mat. So you can watch a little bit more of the video, but you can see all the scarring and all the redness underneath the skin. And there's a big pelt. And she's just kind of lifting up. So he was nice. We didn't need a muzzle or anything. He just was very appreciative. What a good boy. Okay. So he did really good. So if you want to see more in depth about, us just kind of doing this part, like I said, this video is on YouTube. Also, there is the Cat with a Mat DVD, which is shaving a very matted cat with a bad attitude. And then Olivia's DVD called Get a Grip. She does I don't think the line cut in that one is necessarily a bad cat, but it's all sped up and you can see the whole line cut. Okay, so the next thing is how to prevent these things from happening. And so that's that picture, that's that cat that was just in the video. So I think preventing one of your clients requires three primary things. The first one is education, then visualization, and dedication. And I'm going to go in depth about all three. Education. Most cat owners don't know how harmful matting and pelting can actually be to their cats. So it's our job to do this. So I always want to make sure I have a good long talk with the owner at the end, why this happened and how we can prevent it. And then I also like to send them home with literature that they can read. And that's where the kind of NCGIA brochures really kind of come in, is because I want to give them something to go home that they can go and read that is validating what I just talked to them about. And since it's, our name and logo with our information, it's kind of backing you guys up to say, yes, what I'm talking about, this is exactly what happens. This is what we need to do from here on out. I also like to give them choices of schedules, and I will use like our little flip charts to show, this is what we did today, the lion cut. So you've got three schedule options. The first one is a bath and blow dry every 4 to 6 weeks. That will keep your cat in the length that you want. We can keep your cat in full coat without you having to do anything at home. Doesn't that sound nice? And so, the bath and blow dry every 4 to 6 weeks is really the best option for them in terms of cutting down. So there's no matting, there's no hairballs, there's no shedding, their nails are trimmed appropriately, there's no ear gunkiness, they've got a nice clean little sanitary butt area. 4 to 6 weeks. The second option, excuse me, is the kind of 6 to 8 weeks, where we can do so we do a bath and blow dry, plus we do either a comb cut for long-haired cats, or we can also do a de-shedding treatment. And the de-shed will pull out additional dead coat to make sure that that coat is coming out without being able to get matted first. So doing one of those two options can push the groom out a little bit more. So they don't have to come in quite as frequently. You can also play with the schedule. I mean, every client is different, every cat is different. I have some short-haired cats who have to come in at that 4 to 6 weeks because they just have the densest, thickest coat and they just shed up a storm. However, some cats, they barely shed at all because they're more just kind of silky smooth. And if that's the case, well, then we just figure out a schedule that works for the owners. And that's exactly what I tell them. We will find a schedule that works for you and your pet's lifestyle. That's the exact phrase I use, works every time. The third option, and I usually tell them it's the most extreme option, is to do a lion cut every 3, maybe 4 months. And what that does is that it is preventing all the mats from happening, and it's really spreading the groom out a little bit further. I don't want to do lion cuts on cats if I don't have to, but my goal as a groomer is to prevent animals from being matted. That is my whole goal as a groomer. And part of that is choosing what is best for the owner and the cat. And I may not want to shave down full coated, animals or full coated cats, but if I have to do that to keep them from getting matted because I can't, go to the owner's house and say, okay, Mrs. Smith, it's time to go to the groomer. Give me your hand. We're going to walk over the grooming salon today. I can't do that for everybody. So sometimes that means having to, do a shorter haircut on a regular schedule. So it's all about education. And if I give them options, I'm making them feel like they're still making the choices for their pet, but at the same time, I have made all the choices for them, and really they're just kind of making a small decision. The second step is visualization. This is if I have to shave a pelt off a cat, the owner is going to be seeing the pelt when I come downstairs because it's not to shame them. I know Danielle has her wall of shame, and that works for her. For me, I want to really make sure that they understand what a pelt is, why this is bad. So I want them to feel the pelt. This is what was on Fluffy. If there's any type of skin redness or bald spots, the best thing I can do is take the cat out, put it on the table during checkout, and have them look. This is what was underneath the pelt. This is why it's important to make sure that they come in on a regular schedule. It's really having the owner see, because me telling them is one thing, but having them see it and feel it is a totally different thing, especially when I get the cat out on the table and I start rubbing the areas that they were matted and they lean into it like, oh yeah, that feels good. Oh yeah, rub right there. And I say, oh, doesn't that feel good? Because it was pulling and it was uncomfortable, and now Fluffy's feels great. So I always want to show them. I also love the flip chart because I can show them the different options. So I can show them like the pictures of the comb cuts. We can do a comb cut. We can do this every, 8 weeks. And that way Fluffy's in a cute little teddy bear trim and you won't have to deal with as much hair and Fluffy will never get matted. Do you want to make that schedule? Because we're going to have to book that right now. So that's that visualization. The third thing is I kind of code dedication. And that's on our part. It's on the owner's part. The owner has to dedicate a certain level of maintenance. It is also kind of our job to kind of give them a little push in the right direction. So if they don't pre-book their next appointment, which you should definitely encourage them to pre-book, you always want to make sure you follow up with them. I like to follow up with new clients within a week or two of the groom. Hi, this is Lynn from National Cat Groomers Institute. I just wanted to see how you and Fluffy were doing after her grooming appointment. Do you have any questions? Blah, blah, blah. You can also, call or email them after about 2 to 3 months to see if they'd like to book another appointment. You can even use things like that's where the pictures kind of come into play. You can either have a digital picture kind of before and after, take the after picture and kind of send it to them, be like, hey, it's been a couple months since we saw Fluffy, it's time for her next grooming appointment. This is what she looked like last time or whatever. And it's not like we're not showing them a before picture. We want to show them the nice, pretty picture. And you can do that for cats that, are not matted too. You have their nice, pretty picture, and you can kind of send them a reminder with their own cat's picture. And they're going to look at that nice, fluffy cat, and then they're going to look at their own kind of scuzzy cat and be like, oh, yeah, we need to schedule an appointment for you. You can also print the pictures out and use the picture as a postcard. Put the address and thing right on there. Also, you can use kind of either like a reward or loyalty type of program. That the picture on the top is just a sample type of punch card from like Vistaprint. We have a loyalty program called Lovin' Your Cat, and it's if you visit the salon 6 times within 12 months, your sixth groom is free. You can do half off the last groom. You can do, $5 off every other one. You can kind of do whatever you want. But it's just to kind of give them that extra little push to try to get them to come in. And sometimes that can turn a client that was, maybe 3 or 4 times a year into a 6 to 8 times a year client just because it's like, oh, well, I only come, I come in 4 times. If I come in one more time, I get a free room, but it's got to be within that 12 months. So we always have an expiration date on them. So just a couple little things, how can NCGIA help you? Obviously, we offer education and training, for you. We've got books, DVDs, we've got our great 2-week school session, we've got workshops. We also have more webinars on this topic and other topics. Like I said before, we've got the check-in assessments and procedure webinar. We also have another webinar called Mushroom Cats. There's a whole bunch of them. If you go back and if you're a member, you can check out all of them. We've got like 35 plus hours. We also have education material for your clients with the brochures. And we also have posters and things, and then we have marketing materials for your salon, flip charts, and the photo packages I think are really awesome. They're like digital, high resolution photos. They're in the web store, and you can use them in on your website. You can use them in your own marketing material. We've got pictures of different grooming styles, different bathing, shaving, a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to show you all real quick. I actually hold on. Hello, everyone. Hello. So real quick, I wanted to show you a couple of our brochures. I think they're going to be backwards. Sorry, but oh, you know what? There's a kind of a big mess back there. There we go. It's going to be backwards, but these are some of the brochures. So this is the What is Humane brochure. This is the one that's all about super pelted cats. So you can see we talk all about the pelts, things like that. Why does severe matting and pelting happen? A groomed cat is a happy cat is also nice because it's what causes matting. I know it's backwards, but it says what causes matting, the results of matting. So it talks about matting. Got hairballs is all about what can a professional groomer do for you. So this is a nice one to leave at vets and things, all the fun yucky stuff that groomers can help with. My personal favorite, because I wrote them, is the breed brochures. So we have the common breeds, Persian Himalayan. So this one talks about fun facts and their grooming recommendations and benefits of regular grooming. And so we have Persian Himalayan, Maine Coon, Ragdoll, domestic short hair, and domestic long hair. And then this is my favorite. This is the flip chart. I love these things. Awesomeness. So you can see we show the comb cuts. We show the line cuts. Awesomeness. Okay, so I'm going to answer questions, and then I've got a little giveaway, so everybody hang on just another couple minutes, and I will do a little giveaway for one of the attendees. So I got some cute stuff. All right, let me go in here and see. Andrea asked, what do I consider an old cat? It really depends on the cat, and we'll talk about it more at the Senior Cat webinar on May 31st, which is going to be all about senior cats, how I adjust my handling for senior cats. Senior cats, it depends on the breed, depends on the cat. Senior really starts somewhere around between 8 and 10. I recommend clients get kind of a baseline of blood work at that age before any problems start, so that if 2 or 3 years later the cat starts acting kind of weird, they have a baseline of blood work that they can refer to, and say, oh, the liver levels are blah, 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 or the kidney looks da, 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 and it's different from when it was 2 years ago. So some cats look amazing at 12, 13. Other cats, look like they're like 20 when they're 12 or 13. So it's all about kind of being aware of that age, and as they start getting up there, even after 7, because usually there are some health problems that can start to appear at 7 and up. So I like to kind of just have an idea of what their age is. Okay. Do I talk to clients before grooming or after? I hope the webinar kind of answered that. It's both. I'm going to talk to them about what I'm going to do today, a little bit about what happens, what causes everything, because I want them to see me as an expert, and I want them to trust me before they leave the salon. So a lot of it is chatting with them and kind of finding out, what the problems are and what they're looking for and what exactly I'm going to do to their cat. And then at the end, it's a follow-up. So it's both. I would say the majority of the conversation happens in the beginning, and then I'm kind of reiterating a lot of it at the end. This is what happened, this is what we did, this is what I shaved off the Fluffy, and so we can get on the thing. Uh-oh. I'm going to talk to you about that later, Carolyn. I saw your question about the quick videos. We might have something in the works. She asked about quick videos of plus size lady doing body grooming. And I would like to do something like that. And we are planning on doing more little video clips and things. So we're still kind of in the works on exactly how we want to have that. So we're working on it. Oh, the condenser cone is, hold on, let me see if I can find it. HP dryer. I don't know if it's going to come up. Hopefully nothing crazy comes up. I don't really know. It's all right. It's hard to describe because I don't have one. Usually most dryers come with a cone, C-O-N-E. They come with it's like a pointy attachment that goes on the end of the dryer. That's what I'm talking about. The condenser cone. Oh, oh, oh no. Uh-oh. I just saw that there's no sound. Oh, Gina. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm sorry. I just totally looked at everything and apparently audio cut out a whole bunch. Hopefully you can hear me now. Sorry. Oops. Apparently I should check that more often. You're gonna have to forgive me. I don't know if I can pronounce your name. Duran? There's something along W. But anyway, you ask about shaving with a 10 in reverse or with the growth. If I'm going to get the hair off, I'll usually kind of do with the growth, but overall I always want to finish against the growth because it just gives a nice smooth finish. And really I haven't seen any difference in risk of nicking with either going with or against. It's all about having the skin nice and flat. If the skin isn't flat, then you're going to nick no matter which direction you go. So I would say that's what I would say is going against the growth. If you want to go with the growth, I mean that's fine. I mean it's your grooming business, but I don't know if you're going to get as smooth of a finish as going against as going against because I want a nice clean smooth finish on every single cat. Erin asked about when we groom not in school session, how we schedule the appointments. It's pretty much most cats come in between 8:30 and 9:30. They either have like an 8:30 or a 9 o'clock appointment, and then we give them a pickup time. Right now, Olivia is doing the majority of the grooming during salon days because I've taken over in the office. So she will usually do between 6 and 8 cats, depending on who comes in. We've been doing mainly 6 lately because of all the once-a-year cats. And usually she gives pickup times starting, so 8:30 cats usually finish at like 12:30 or 1. 9 o'clock cats usually finish at 1 or 1:30. If she's by herself, like today, I went in to just kind of help her for a little bit, but on Saturday she mainly grooms by herself, so she has to check in and check out. So she will have everybody check in at 9, and pretty much almost everybody is done by 1:30, and then she checks them all out at the same time. Every once in a while, she has a cat that needs to be done straight through. Like today, she had Sushi, and Sushi gets done straight through. So then that cat's a little different. So normally we kind of stack cats where we kind of pre-shave, bathe, put in a cage dryer. Pre-shave, bathe, put in a cage dryer. And then once the cage dryers are all full, then you go back, you take out the cat, finish drying, finish shaving, done. Finish drying, finish shaving, done. So we kind of stagger them a little bit. Okay. Oh, the 3 options. Do you guys want me to go? Well, let me do my giveaway real quick, and then I'll do the 3 options. So if anybody needed to go at 9, we can have a winner. Okay, I'm going to choose number 12. Okay, the 12th person I find. And we've got 1, 2. It is Nancy Domlavel. So you win the little giveaway. You will win, and I will mail to you because I have your info because you're a member. I just know that off the top of my head. You're going to get a flip chart. And I also got for you cat stickers. They are so cute. And you can use the cat stickers on little thank you notes that I got. Okay, so I got little blank thank you notes. So you can send little thank you notes to your new cat clients. Okay, just as a little thank you for bringing Fluffy in with little stickers. With your put in little recommendations, all that good stuff. So I will mail all your goodies when I'm back in the office on Monday. So congratulations, Nancy. Yay. Okay, so let me go back. The 3 options for grooming options, and this pretty much applies to everybody. The first one is the 4 to 6 weeks bath and blow dry, because that is that'll be good for everybody. And that will basically make it so that the owner doesn't have to do anything at home, and it makes sure that there's no matting, there's no excess shedding, there's no hairballs, the nails are an appropriate length, the ears don't have any gunk in them, and the sanitary areas, obviously I'm not going to lift up my butt or anything, but the sanitary area is nice and clean. Then if they, and so obviously that's a little pricier because they have to come in more frequently. But that one is really good for the loyalty program. So, every 6 weeks they come in and they get a little punch, and then after 5 visits, the 6th one is free. 6 visits in a year is every 8 weeks. Okay, so they have a little bit of playroom. You can even do, I would recommend an expiration date, but you don't have to do an expiration date. I think Danielle in her salon, she basically did, after 5 grooms, the 6th one was free, and she might have given you a little bit more than a year at first, but I would recommend having an expiration date. Okay, so that was option 1, is the 4 to 6 weeks. Option 2 is the okay, I'll answer that in a second, Angie. Option 2 is 6 to 8 weeks, and they either get a comb cut or a de-shed treatment, like in addition to the bath and blow dry. So we're either removing excess dead hair with the de-shed treatment, or we're trimming the hair down into a comb cut. Okay, so we're removing excess hair, either removing length, or we're just removing excess dead hair. And so because we're removing that excess hair, we can kind of stretch the schedule out a little bit longer. Not too long, because they can't have any mats to get the comb cut. And obviously, if they're matted, I'm not really concerned about doing a de-shed because I'm pulling out all this mats. The third option, and I always tell people that it's the most extreme option, is the lion cut. And the lion cut should be done every like 2 to 3 months. Okay, so max 4 times a year. And if I give it as the third option, and I always tell them it's the most extreme option, most people don't want that option. They usually go with one of the other options, because most people don't want a naked cat running around. They think they look silly, or they think they're going to get cold or something. And I don't want to shave cats. I don't want to shave short-haired cats. I don't want to shave long, beautiful coated cats into lion cuts if I don't have to. I want to leave them beautiful and full. But it's my job as a groomer to make sure that every animal is not getting matted. That's my job as a groomer. And so sometimes that means working with the owner and figuring out what works best for them. The And so sometimes that means the options can change, or sometimes, sometimes that means like some cats cannot get line cuts. Like they're just not line cut candidates. So then we just chop that option off. So nope, I'm sorry, your cat cannot get a line cut. It doesn't have the right temperament. The skin condition is too delicate. There's a couple things that make it so that I can't shave them. So it's about working with the options, and I always tell clients that the schedule can change, and that every cat is different, so we can just adjust. And I'll say, let's start with, I would say let's start with 6 to 8 weeks. See what the cat looks like. I tell them I have to see how fast the hair grows, how, what the hair condition looks like when it comes in, and then I can give you a more accurate recommendation. And they go, oh, okay, yeah, let's put them on the schedule for 6 weeks. And that way sometimes, I mean, some cats don't have any, they're super silky and they're like never gonna mat. So I usually say, well, we can, kind of space it out a little bit longer. What are your concerns? So we just have to adjust it based on them. Okay, so Angie is asking if the cat needs a longer break, do I hold them or do I put them in a cage? And do I find them putting them in a cage stresses them out and is more dangerous to you when I try to get them back out? Usually no. I mean, like having them be more stressed out. Because if they're being stressed out by me shaving, I think it's usually because it's the handling. And so obviously, if they kind of get a little bit of a break and they can kind of regroup, I really haven't had too many problems with getting them back out of a kennel. Um, if anything, I can always kind of just drape a towel over them and then I kind of scoop them up and get them back out. Um, but most I can't even think of one cat that I wasn't able to get out of. I mean, because we've got like these big, massive kennel things that we just have in the hallway, and it's literally like holding tanks. Whereas the cage dryers are, kind of smaller, but the kennels are like big, so they've got a little bit of a room, and it's kind of a quiet little area out in the hallway. There's not a lot of cats around. It's just them, so they just kind of take a break, and then I come back out and I just scoop them up and come back and try again. Um, so no, I haven't really found any problems. If they're having that much issue, it might not be that they need a 15-20 minute break. It may mean that they need a second appointment. And so I just have to adjust and find out what works well for the cat. What is the flip chart located under in the website? That's a good question. You should just be able to there's a little search bar. I think if you just search like flip or flip chart, 2 words, it should come up because there's two. There's the grooming flip chart, which is this one. And then I don't have it with me, but there's a grossness one, and it shows things like stud tail and chin acne and not that I have chin acne, I'm past my teenage years, but ingrown toenails, ringworm, all the gross stuff. So it's the grossness one, which can be good too to show them these are all the things that can be underneath this pelt. We don't want these things. Oh, how exciting. Kelly Weymouth says that her kennel is near a window. So outside the window is a bird feeder. And that's an awesome idea. I always dream that if I ever had a cat like boarding facility, that I would have like a gigantic aquarium that I would have like kennels backed up against, and it would be ocean view. And then I'd have like an aviary that the cats would kind of back up against it, or cats could watch the birds, or they could watch like the back and it'd be squirrels little running around kind of thing. Oh my god, that'd be so cute. But definitely distractions can be really great. Sometimes even having that second person, they don't even need to handle anything. Sometimes I just, if Olivia needs a hand, sometimes it's just I kind of just pet the kitty and, it's okay, you're just fine, just a little bit of a distraction. Sometimes they just need that little bit of, they would need to pay attention to something else. Okay, so it is 9:04. So that's pretty much it. I hope you all had a good time. I had a good time. And I will send out Nancy's stuff. And congratulations. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. And I hope you guys learned some stuff. Remember, members can contact the office anytime. Lots of support. If you have any questions about membership, or if you have questions about coming to school, or if you just want to ask me questions about cat stuff, you can call me at the office, email me, info at nationalcatgroomers.com, or Lynn at nationalcatgroomers.com. I answer both. And I'm also on Facebook. So check out the NCGIA Groomer Survival Guide is the Facebook group for a bunch of the CFMGs and cat groomers and NCGIA members. We're all in the group, and it's a nice big family. It's a nice big time. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, I will see you. Hopefully I'll see you May 31st. Okay? Bye guys. How do I turn this? How do I turn this off? Oh, jeez. And apparently we're going to be here for